Good morning. It's early, but I have things to do and places to go and stuff I gotta get done early today. So we are doing things earlier. I tried to tame this mop. It ain't working. But, we live with what we've got. Somebody mentioned to me getting a slap cap or something like that to sleep in. I don't know if that would just smash all the curls out, because I kind of like the curls, or if it would just, I don't know what that would do. Anybody got suggestions for me? Any of my curly friends? Check this out though. If you look right back here, it is almost long enough for a teeny tiny baby ponytail. Check that out. Not quite long enough for a mom bun thing on top though. I don't think that would have quite the same desired effect. Oh my goodness, you guys. You know what? My hair used to be like my one thing, and now I've got to relearn everything. So I am just being super honest with you guys in the process. I know hair isn't that big of a deal. It really isn't. But it's just one of those things I'm working through. All right. We're on our last section. It's day 41. Has anybody here been here through every day? I'm curious. Has anybody hung out with me for 41 days? One time about 3 years ago, I was going through some painful challenges. Some stuff that I was thinking was going to work out didn't, and it hurt. And I didn't want to get dragged into that spiral where you're like, everything's gonna be this way. This is always the way things turn out. Nobody's ever gonna love me. Jobs are never gonna work out. Things are always gonna be terrible. And I didn't want to get into that whole spiral. So, preemptively, I talked to some girlfriends, just a couple of them, and I was like, hey, so I have this radical idea. What if, and we were in like 3 or 4 different time zones. I was like, what if we decided to do 40 days of prayer on the phone, first thing in the morning, every day for 40 days, don't miss a day. And they were in, and we did it. And friends, it changed our lives. It was absolutely incredible. All of us saw prayers answered. We saw God working in our life, in education, about situations. And it was a powerful, powerful experience. After we finished 40 days, so at first we were like praying 10, 15 minutes, that was it. And then by the end of the 40 days, we were spending like 2.5 hours on the phone in prayer together every day. I don't know how the rest of our stuff got done, but it did. And then we were like, we can't stop this. This is like a huge part of our life now. So we did another 40 days. And after that, we did another 40 days. And then we had some things shift, and we dropped back to like once or twice a week. And anyway, it was a powerful experience. If you are going through a massive slump, I highly recommend doing something like that. Find a couple of friends who are willing to commit and then stick with it. We had one friend getting up at like 5 o'clock in the morning. We had others of us shuffling around our work days, being on the phone with earbuds during commute, doing whatever it took to make sure we had our prayer call every day. It works. It is an amazing, amazing experience. All right, where are you watching from today? And how do you feel about this being our last episode? I'm kind of sad. It's been a really good way to start the year. Suffering and God's heart is our first one. Ooh, I see a comment. Paula says, I've really enjoyed this. I think I started about a quarter from the beginning. If I was not able to be here, I would look for this when I got a minute of quietness. Thank you. Thank you, Paula. I'm glad it's been positive and helpful in your life. That really makes me, that's why I do it. So I'm glad for that for you. The book of Hosea, is a picture of the heartbreak of God. The sins of God's people had wounded his heart. His people had gone after other gods. His bride, his lady, was pursuing another. Idolatry is a religious counterfeit. It often looks very real, otherwise we wouldn't be deceived by it. In his excellent book on Hosea, G. Campbell Morgan says that idolatry is religion seeking to worship God falsely represented. Ooh, Paula, what book next? I have a poll over on my page, if you click over to my page later. And the choices are Boundaries, Safe People, One Face, and Life-Saving Divorce. And right now, basically, it looks like it's kind of evenly split between all of them. So I'm just going to have to pick one in order and do all of them. We'll see. Sorry, Laura. This is positive, but for a while, it was really triggering. I can understand that. There's some heavy duty stuff that we have covered in this book. And the author she just does not mince words, and she hits it head on. But I have felt, at least me, I'd like to hear what you think. I have felt that she handles, highly triggering topics in ways that also are very gentle and focused on pointing us back to the loving character of God. What have you thought? All right. The Israelites' worship of Moloch, we're on page 187, was exactly that. Israel was deceived by its false ideas of God. We are deluded into thinking that if something looks like God, sounds like God, has the goal of pleasing or being like God, it must be good. Such deceptions always distort humanity and always break God's heart. I have learned during my decades as a psychologist that you can tell what is most important to someone by what they protect most vociferously. A person using drugs will protect access to the substance on which they are dependent. If caught, they may cry and apologize and promise to stop, but internally they are already searching for ways to pursue what they want more than anything else. That happens with things like porn too. You say, hey, okay, well, you're struggling with porn. Let's get you in therapy. You're going to have to give up your smartphone. You have to give up your laptop. You're going to have to give up your access to the portals of access that are there when you're in a weak moment, and you need to get into therapy. They may be willing to go to therapy, but they will not be willing to give up all the portals of access because they're protecting the source of the substance to which they're dependent. I see it all the time. Looking at Christendom today, I frequently see that when the church is threatened, its energy goes into protecting the system. We love and worship the system, or our church, more than we love and worship Jesus Christ. That is why we engage in complicity, in cover-ups, in silencing, in name-calling, and in threats. If those don't work, then bit by bit, we offer up some half-truths, testing to see what is acceptable and what will stop the exposure. The goal is to protect the institution, not to stand in the light. As I have listened to the stories of many victims, I have learned that there are countless loves dearer to us than love for God. Jesus' poignant question, "Do you love me?" comes to mind. Loving anything more than we love him amounts to idolatry, and that may be the root of the problem. Where was I? I don't mean putting up carved figures and worshiping them. No, it's far more subtle and deceptive. Think back to the Hebrews, God's chosen people called to bless the world, rescued from slavery, and having received God's thoughts by way of his servant Moses. They knew God. He visited them and taught them how to worship him alone. Yet somehow his people like us, judged it good and right to create and worship a golden calf. We are his people, those he has visited and taught how to worship him. Have we not made golden calves out of statistics, money, fame, position, and our external systems? Look instead at the one greater than Solomon, Luke 11:31. His statistics are measly, his wealth non-existent. He had no home, and the temple of his father was being desecrated and trashed by corrupt religious leaders who hated him. The strongest sign of God in him was his ability to continually bend his will to God's, to the extent that he had the power to lay down his life. He has called us to do the same. I see bumblebees and butterflies saying, and marriages. I'm thinking, correct me if I'm wrong, that you're adding the and marriages to the list of the golden calves. Am I right? We've made golden calves out of statistics, money, fame, position, our external systems, and institutions like marriages over and above safety of people. Correct me if I'm wrong. I just saw a comment pop up. The strongest sign of God in him was his ability to continually bend his will to God's, to the extent that he had the power to lay down his life. He has called us to do the same. He asks us to use our God-given power of choice to follow him in his ways, not our preferred ones. He has called us to follow him even if it means our temples collapse. I'm going to say that again. He has called us to follow him even if it means our temples collapse. These are troubling times. The Church of Jesus Christ finds itself in a valley of Achor. Achor is a Hebrew word meaning trouble or affliction. We learn of this valley of trouble in Joshua 7, where the unfaithfulness of one man who took for himself that which belonged to God, this is Achan, brought trouble and death to that valley. Yet God promised he would make the valley of Achor, the valley of trouble, a door of hope. Hosea 2:15. Some of you reading this have been beaten down and crushed by the misuse of power in the church. You have experienced sexual abuse, spiritual abuse, name-calling, and dismissal because you did not do what you were told. Some of you have done the crushing. You have believed that protecting an institution is a godly choice. You have lied or hidden the truth to that end. You have convinced yourself that the work is too important and too big to let a little thing like that destroy it. In doing so, you have enabled cancer to grow in the body of Christ. Others have been quietly complicit, believing that God prefers to preserve our good institutions with their good goals. Perhaps we are not troubled enough by these times. Remember that Jesus was crucified in part by a system ordained by God for his worship and the blessing of his people. Consider his arraignment, conducted in the wee hours of the morning, which was against civil law, conducted in the house of the high priest rather than in the temple, which was against religious law. Leaders broke laws in order to kill Jesus. Many of our systems have followed this same path. Let's be honest. To our shame, we have often treated people the way Jesus was treated. We have humiliated, lied, crushed, blamed, and degraded. We have done so to those of other races. We have done so to victims of many kinds of abuse who disrupted our order and called us to enter in. We have worked in secret. We have not dragged such things into the light. We have acted illegally and refused to report child abuse. We have not acknowledged that domestic abuse and rape are against the law. We have covered up our deeds and our verdicts to protect our ways and our systems. In doing so, we have followed the Sanhedrin rather than Jesus Christ. We have acted not as blundering disciples, but as those who were flagrantly disobedient. And Jesus has to heal the wounds we have caused. This is a hard place, but it is good that many are beginning to see and are deeply troubled. I have said repeatedly that the voices of victims today, of those abused and violated and crushed in our Christian circles, are in fact the voice of our God to his people. Through those we have mistreated, he is turning on his light, exposing us to ourselves and others, pointing out the cancer, and calling us to fidelity to him alone. In essence, this is what Jesus said when he declared, "Let the little ones come, for my kingdom belongs to such people as these." Matthew 19:14. Now remember, this is my little caveat. In Matthew 18:5 and 6, just the previous chapter, Jesus says that if anyone causes these little ones to sin, it's better for them to have a millstone around their neck and be thrown into the ocean. Meaning, it's better to be dead than to cause one of these little ones to sin. And then he says, "Let the little ones come, for my kingdom belongs to such people as these." They are a prophetic voice to the church. They are canaries in the coal mines of Christendom. Victims are vulnerable, struggling, wounded, broken, and in need of extensive care. They are a picture of who we all are before God. And we are to be a picture for them of who he is with us, the one who came from the heights to the depths, for those who were vulnerable, struggling, wounded, broken, and in need of extensive care. This valley of trouble, the valley of Achor, is God ordained. And in this place, he is calling his people back to himself. In John 12:27, Jesus says, "Now is my soul troubled, and what shall I say? Father, save me from this hour. But for this cause came I unto this hour." It was through the troubling of Jesus Christ that the door of hope was opened for us. It was the troubling of God, the sorrow of God, his broken heart that opened the door of hope. The cost to him in opening that door shows us the severity of sin. When we love the work more than the master, we are contributing to that cost. If we will listen and see and repent, then we will enter into the great troubling we have caused in the lives of vulnerable humans, seeking to live in his likeness, bringing joy to his heart rather than sorrow. We will do so though the foundations of our buildings shake and the mountains of our little kingdoms crumble into the sea. Ultimately, we will hear the chorus from Revelation 5:13. Then I heard every creature in heaven and on earth and under the earth and on the sea and all that is in them saying, "To him who sits on the throne and to the Lamb be praise and honor and glory and power forever and ever." The end. But not quite the end. Because it's like 4 pages. Maybe we'll do that tomorrow. The postlude is very good. And I want to read it, but it's several pages, and we've already been here for a while this morning. So we will do one more tomorrow. Final thoughts, anyone? Are you still digesting and chewing on it? All right, so I have some really, really cool stuff coming over the next couple of weeks. If you are not already on my mailing list, you want to be on that. And the link at wilderness2wild.com, then you can just click subscribe at the top. It's in the description of this video. But all my first invitations to the new online course that is coming out will be going to my email list first, and then to my Facebook and social groups if they're in those. Also, on my website, I have added a handy list of all the different niche Facebook groups and needs that I have through Wild that we have available. So we are trying to continue to synthesize and make our material more concise. There's a ton of giveaways on the website, wilderness2wild.com. Definitely go check it out if you haven't already hung out over there. See what is available, the freebies and stuff for you. There's small courses, there's workshops, webinars, ebooks, you name it. There's cool stuff there, including signing up for private coaching and clarity coaching, different packages for that. So all kinds of stuff there. And oh, I wanted to show you this. Check this out. This is a design that I've actually had for a while, but I just unpacked it. And it says unbroken, unbreakable. And it is one of my Warrior Mama designs, and it's on Amazon, but my friend Emily designed it for me a couple years ago. And anyway, it's something I enjoy. I was glad to pull it out of my box the other day. Figured I'd wear it. I might wear it all day, I don't know. Alrighty, thank you guys for hanging out with me this morning. Share it if you loved it. Drop me a comment about what your thoughts are underneath. And I'm gonna go finish my coffee. You have a good day.